Right, so today we will solve these equations by factoring using the zero product property that we talked about in the last section. I'll solve 3 of them for you, chaps. First, let's take a look at this. P squared plus 5p minus 84 equals zero, said. You want your equation to equal zero before you can start solving. This equation is set properly, so we can begin to factor. I'll take a look at my trinomial. I have an a value of 1. Therefore, I am ready to factor. I'll make my 2 parentheses. I have a c value that is negative. Therefore, I will be subtracting to make the b value. I will fill in my 2 variables, a p and a p. And I need 2 numbers that multiply to make 84 and subtract to make 5. Some of you don't know the factors of 84. Which is why I chose this one, but the factors will be 12 and 7. So 12 goes into the first parenthesis and 7 into the second. Remember, they're interchangeable. You don't have to put 12 first. You could put 7 first if you'd like. And now I need different signs to make my negative 84. I need a positive and a negative on the 12 and the 7. So to determine that, I use the b value, which is a positive 5. And since the b is positive, the larger of these 2 factors must be also positive. And therefore the 7 is my negative. And that factoring is equal to 0. And now I have 2 separate factors that multiply to make 0. And the zero product property said that one of these 2 factors must equal 0 for the multiplication product to be 0. So I will take each factor and separate it into its own separate equation equaling 0. P plus 12 could be 0. And if not, then P minus 7 has to be 0. I'll solve them both individually, subtract 12, and P will equal negative 12. Or I'll add 7 to both sides, and P will equal positive 7. So my values for P for this equation will be equal to either negative 12 or positive 7. Voila, you can take these 2 answers one at a time, substitute them in, and check your answer if you like to see that it equals 0, and it will. The second equation you see is not equal to 0. This equation poses a problem, but I can solve that problem by manipulating it by adding 60 to both sides to make it equal 0. So if I add 60 to both sides, now my equation says 8 squared minus 17h plus 60 equals z. You must make your equation equal 0 to use the zero product property. If your equation does not equal 0, the zero product property does not apply. Now I have a trinomial with an a coefficient of 1, and I am ready to factor. I will set up my 2 parentheses. That product will equal 0. I will fill in my variable, my h and my h. I have a positive c value. Therefore, I'm going to multiply to make 60 and add to make 17. Well, those factors of 60 are 12 and 5. And since this is a positive, both signs must be the same, and they both must be the sign of the b, which is a negative and a negative. And now I have two factors whose product is 0. One of them must be 0. I'll solve each one separately to figure out my answers. H minus 12 is equal to 0, or h minus 5 will be equal to 0. I'll add 12 to both sides, and h equals 12, or I'll add 5 to both sides, and h equals 5. Technically written, least to greatest, smallest to largest, h could equal either 5 or 12. And last but not least, for sure, once again does not equal 0. I must make it equal 0 to apply my 0 product property. And the a term is written second. So while I add 52 to both sides, I will also rearrange that left side into the proper order. So I'm not going to put 17r first. I will put my r squared first. Then my plus 17r, and then my plus 52, and it will equal z. I can now use my 0 product property and factor my trinomial. So I'll make my 2 parentheses. I will fill in my variable for my first terms, r and r. I have a positive c value, therefore I will have to add to make the b value. I will have 2 signs in my parentheses that are the same, and they'll both be plus. So if I want, I can fill them in now. And the factors of 52 that add to make 17 are 4 and 13. So now one of these two binomials must be 0 to make the product 0. So I will separate them and solve each one individually. R plus 4 could be 0, or r plus 13 could be 0. So I'll subtract 4, and r will equal negative 4. And I'll subtract 13, and r equals negative 13. So written in the proper order, from least to greatest, r could be either negative 13 or positive 4. And that is how we apply the 0 product property to solving equations where we must factor a trinomial. Good luck on your assignment today.